Hi, this is Janelle Nanos, business reporter with the Boston Globe, and this is Bold Types, conversations with Boston's business leaders. Today we're talking with Jae'da Turner, the founder of Black Owned Boss, in her Newbury Street pop-up. Jae'da, thank you so much for having me to your new store. Tell us a little bit about this space.
Thank you for coming. We're here at the Holiday Boss Shop, presented by Black Owned Boss on Newbury Street. It's a collection of 30 brands on the shelves. We have anything from provisions to clothing, accessories, things for kids, personal care items, all under one roof.
Wow. Tell me a little bit about your company. So it didn't actually start out as a company at all. It was an Instagram account, and that's where I first found you. I remember reaching out and saying, hey, what is this that you're doing? Can we talk for an interview? And you told me no. Tell me a little bit about the backstory to Black Owned Boss.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess my background is kind of in marketing. It's in social media. It's in product marketing, all of those things. And I was working in marketing full time just as my 9-to-5 job. And I wanted something to do kind of on the side. I'm diehard Boston. Like, I love Boston. I'm born and raised here, grew up in Dorchester. I currently live in Roxbury now. But I wanted an opportunity to showcase the neighborhoods, the city where I'm from, to people that are in Boston, but then also people that come from Boston.
You created it in 2019.
Yep.
And what were you doing in the first few posts as you were kind of feeling your way?
So I was really just profiling a lot of the businesses that I was familiar with and that I had patronized, a lot of Black-owned businesses, whether it's from Dorchester to the South End, just kind of having a spread of different businesses that I like myself, and wanting to share them in a kind of like a beautification on Instagram, because that's really where people are looking for what's hot, what are the trends, what should they be paying attention to. And I wanted to just kind of glamorize the businesses that I know and love. And I went around, I remember it was March 23rd. I took some pictures of different businesses, went around and just posted them on my Instagram account, and then kind of just went from there, just following all the different Black-owned businesses that I personally know, but then also taking recommendations from other people of businesses that they had discovered, just so that I could share them all in one space on the Instagram page, resharing events that were happening. And it's really kind of focused on just like businesses, places, spaces, and people who are doing this work, entrepreneurs, which is not just kind of like physical space. As we know in Boston, there are people that are having businesses out of their homes, people that do events at larger venues, and I consider those part of the Black Owned Boss community as well.
And yet you kind of wanted to stay behind the scenes. I mean, let's go back to when we first interacted, which was, I said, Jae'da, let's talk. I want to interview for a story. And you were like, no, I don't want to be the face of this. Clearly, you're the face of it now.
Yeah.
What changed?
I think that I realized that the business itself needs a face. It needs somebody behind it that is passionate about the work and is able to communicate to the folks that want to partner, that the folks that want to be a part of the community. I think that there's a piece of kind of like trust and reputation that comes along with that you can see that a person actually cares about this and they're doing the work to make it happen. And I didn't want to be the hindrance to the growth of the business just because I wanted to stay in the back of it. Initially, the whole goal of wanting to stay in the back was like, okay, it's not about me, but I realized that I'm making it about me by not, by
who is this mystery woman?
Exactly.
Yes,
and then it's like,
yeah, totally, I get that. The launch of Black Owned Boss was in some ways extraordinarily well timed. Not only were you building this community and a platform for people to find brands, but it launched before the pandemic happened, when a lot of people said, oh my God, I really want to help my local businesses stay afloat. How do I do that? You had created this hub and this opportunity. And so what were some of the things that you saw out of the gate when you were helping people, sort of navigate the pandemic in those early months in March and April? of 2020?
It was great for that very reason, that the brand was already established, the community was growing, people had awareness of what Black Owned Boss was and kind of what the mission was behind it. So it was exciting that once there was an opportunity to kind of rise to the occasion and actually support the businesses in a more intentional and like direct way, it was a great opportunity, because before it was kind of just like passive, would love to support these businesses kind of ongoing, but it was an immediate need at that point that these businesses need people to patronize them. They need people to support them in creative ways, whether it was takeout, whether it was GoFundMe pages that businesses had started just because they couldn't stay afloat, or just opportunities there. So it was really a hub, one for resources, but then also for a community of people that wanted to support these businesses and make it easy. And when you make things easy, it works for everyone.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about how that conversation might have changed in the wake of the George Floyd murder, and the idea that there was so much civil unrest, and also people wanting to step up and do more to support Boston's Black community, and particularly patronize Black-owned businesses. What was that like for you as a business owner who was trying to navigate and create a hub for people to find these businesses? How did that play out on your end?
It was a bit overwhelming, I would say. I think that people kind of gravitate towards what's easy, like I mentioned. And when you're searching businesses, Black-owned business, Black-owned Boston, the business was the first thing kind of that probably popped up. And we received over, I think, 10,000 followers in a matter of weeks.
Wow.
And there were inbound requests like, can you recommend this type of business? Do you know that? Can you show me this? And there was a lot of inbound requests for folks looking to support, which is great. But it was just a one-person team at the time, and it was a little overwhelming, but it was exciting because it was a moment to meet. And now we have a spreadsheet that will soon be an app that'll feature over 1,600 businesses in the greater Boston area.
That's amazing. So let's see a little bit of a tour here. What have you got, and who are you working with?
Yeah, so many different great brands. Hillside Harvest, which is a crowd favorite. And then we also have Newsly 118, which is a brand out of Cambridge that is really focused on raw food. And how do you make it tasty? How do you make it delicious? Because when you think about raw food, when you think about things that are very natural, a lot of times people are like, I don't know if it is good, but this stuff is good. These are a few different pieces from Full Moon Botanica. That's really kind of like metaphysical, spiritual, crystals, some sage, some candles, which smells great.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So it's a great collection of just anything from the home, personal care.
So talk with me a little bit about your decision to switch from this being a side hustle, as you said, to something that you're doing full time.
For sure. I think that it was like something that was decided for me, to be honest. Like I had been furloughed from my job, like a lot of millions of people were impacted by due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I really just took it as an opportunity to think about, what am I actually passionate about? What do I want to be doing with my time? And how can I make an impact with my experience, with my skills, and do something different.
So the brand has grown significantly, even since March of 2020. Let's talk a little bit about that evolution. Clearly you saw a real spike in interest in the wake of the George Floyd murder, and how and where people wanted to step up and do more shopping where they could support Black-owned businesses. Talk with me a little bit about that experience for you, and where and how you saw people follow through, because I think there was this real spike in interest, but was it sustainable? And how have you been able to ensure that people continue to do that?
Back in between March of 2020 and June, we saw a spike of about 10,000 new followers. Around March of 2020, we had about 3,000 followers that had grown consistently, a community that we were kind of nurturing on Instagram. But in the wake of the murder of George Floyd, a lot of people were kind of just thinking back, like, how can I support the Black community? How can I support Black-owned businesses? What is my role in what's happening in the world, in the city? And supporting Black businesses and supporting small businesses with your dollars was kind of like the easy solution to do so, and something that you can impact on a personal level. So we got a lot of inbound requests about businesses that they can support, directories, where organizations that are doing the work to support Black businesses and Black people in the Boston area.
It's one thing for an individual to make a choice and say, hey, I want to support a Black-owned business, but it's another for a corporation or a big company to do the same. Yeah. It's been a big issue here in Boston about contracts and thinking about BIPOC-owned businesses and how the city can step up and do more to contract with them. I'm curious where and how you've interacted with the business community here who wants to take more actions to promote diversity and equity within their own environments.
So I think that our first actual physical kind of just representation of Black-owned Boss was a marketplace that we did in collaboration with WS Development in the Seaport. This had come from a cousin of mine. She was running a Black-owned marketplace out of District Hall for some years, and she introduced me when they reached out around doing a outdoor market during the summer of 2020, just as a way to create a safe space, especially when we were talking about social distancing and health and all of that. And that was the first time that we kind of worked with a larger entity in the city of Boston. It has since grown. We've won awards for it. It has turned into other opportunities as well. So that was kind of just like the kickstart in terms of physical retail for Black-owned Boss. And then those opportunities kind of like snowball all the time when you have that kind of platform. And that's really I think the biggest part of it is like if you have the resources and you have the platform to amplify a business and you do that, that turns into just like a ripple effect in terms of the positive that can come from that.
That's great.
Nice.
That's great. Yeah. So you've done a number of pop-up markets now. I think I've lost count. Talk to me a little bit about where else you've been popping up.
Yeah, for sure. So we've done the Seaport, Legacy Place out in Dedham. We've done Cambridge side in Cambridge, Bow Market in Somerville. Sometimes I lose count myself. Right here, we're in Newbury Street in Boston, and actually in Dorchester as well at the South Bay.
That's fantastic. And I want to talk a little bit about, I know in Bow Market you're doing something a little different where you're actually incubating businesses.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, so the one-to-one retail incubator model that we kicked off at Bow Market in February is a space for kind of resource sharing and coaching for one particular business at a time, just to have that kind of designated time with the businesses to coach them through what does it take to have your own physical space? What are the things that are required when you think outside of just a marketplace that a lot of vendors kind of do a lot of their work in? When you think about a Saturday or Sunday, what does a Tuesday at 2 p.m. look like? How can you use that time, whether it's for inventory, whether it's for growing your brand, to just utilize having a physical space, and what does that look like in terms of growing your community as a business? So there's resources that come with it. There's a turnkey kind of retail situation. It's about 165 square feet. The businesses kind of rotate month over month, and it gives that business just a look into what does it take, and you see the ebbs and flows of a month. But then afterwards, where do you see yourself after this? Like, is this something that you actually want to have your own physical space? Maybe it's down the line, and kind of making that decision and being able to even make connections and recommendations and referrals to other folks that I know that have vacancies or that have opportunities for what's next.
That's great. So you're building like a growth engine, which is really exciting. So we call this series Bold Types. I always like to ask, tell me a little bit about how you define boldness.
Boldness, it's really doing something that you're passionate about, but maybe you're unsure of how to get there. Maybe you're unsure of what the steps are going to be. Maybe you're unsure if people are going to support it, but it's something that you're passionate about, and you know that you're going to find a way to make it work. And that's how I really feel about Black-owned Boss. It just started as kind of like a breadcrumb, and now I'm super kind of like intentional about what it's going to be and what it is right now.